Welcome back to Unwiring Tech. I'm your host Ranjana, and once again I'm here with some interesting insights from the paper The Impact of Generative AI on Critical Thinking, Self-Reported Reductions in Cognitive Effort and Confidence Effects from a Survey of Knowledge Workers, published by researchers from Microsoft and Carnegie Mellon. I'm here to share with you a fascinating and maybe even a little unsettling question. Is generative AI making us smarter or just making us feel smarter? This debate isn't new. Throughout history, every major technological advancement has raised concerns about the impact on human thought. Socrates worried that writing would weaken memory. The printing press made monks like Trithemius anxious about the decline of handwritten texts. Calculators, some teachers feared they would ruin arithmetic skills. And now we have the latest disruptor, generative AI, or as we call it, GenAI. Well, these concerns are not entirely misplaced. The way we interact with GenAI, whether it's chatbots, AI-assisted writing tools, AI-based image generator tools, or code generators, could change how we think. Maybe even if we think. Some studies look at how GenAI affects memory. Are we remembering less because we don't have to? Others focus on creativity. Is AI just remixing existing ideas and are we following its lead instead of innovating ourselves? And one big area of focus, critical thinking. Are we accepting AI generated content at face value without questioning it? Now let's talk about this latest research. At its core, this research aims to answer two key questions. First, when and how do knowledge workers perceive the inaction of critical thinking when using GenAI? Number 2. When and why do knowledge workers perceive increased/decreased effort for critical thinking due to GenAI? And these questions can ultimately inform design interventions to support critical thinking for knowledge workers. Before we jump into AI discussion and its impact on critical thinking, let's first define critical thinking. Critical thinking can be broken down into 6 key cognitive activities. First, knowledge, recall of ideas. Second, comprehension, understanding ideas. Third, application, putting ideas into practice. Fourth, analysis, contrasting and relating ideas. Fifth, synthesis, combining ideas. Sixth, evaluation, judging ideas based on criteria. These levels form a hierarchy with deeper levels requiring more cognitive effort. Now let's explore how GenAI influences these different levels of thinking. The researchers surveyed 319 knowledge workers who actively use generative AI tools such as ChatGPT and Microsoft's Copilot to understand how these tools impact their critical thinking. Participants described how AI's ability to generate well-structured responses often make it tempting to trust the output without much scrutiny. This leads to a shift in responsibility from active problem solving to merely verifying AI generated suggestions. Knowledge workers engage in various forms of reasoning when using AI, verifying outputs, refining content, and integrating AI generated insights. While AI enhances productivity, it also introduces risks of over reliance and reduced deep thinking. Self-confidence plays a pivotal role in AI-assisted critical thinking. Users with high confidence in their skills tend to engage critically even if it requires extra effort. In contrast, those who overtrust AI often engage in less critical thinking. This suggests a need for AI design that balances support and accountability. A key issue, overtrust in AI. Research shows that when people are forced to pause before accepting AI generated content or interact with it in some way, they are less likely to blindly trust it. Another interesting aspect of the study is how AI shifts the nature of cognitive tasks in professional settings. Instead of spending time on complex problem solving, many professionals now focus on assessing, verifying, and integrating AI generated content. While this change isn't necessarily negative, it alters the way knowledge workers engage with information. This shift from deep analytical thinking to quick verification can affect long-term skill development, particularly in fields where nuanced decision-making is essential. Now, what encourages people to engage in critical thinking when using GenAI? There are three motivators, as identified in the research. First, improving work quality, avoiding negative outcomes, and skill development. And some of the inhibitors are awareness barriers, where users trust AI too much, assuming all outputs are correct. Motivation barriers, time constraints lead to prioritizing efficiency over analysis. Ability barriers, some users lack domain expertise to evaluate AI outputs effectively. Now, this study also raises concerns about the unintended consequences of AI dependency, GenAI dependency. If AI generated responses are frequently accepted without question, there is a risk that critical thinking skills could decline over time. This is especially relevant in the roles that require complex analysis, creativity, or high level of problem solving. Which means over-reliance on AI may lead to a weakening of independent reasoning abilities, making individuals less equipped to handle situations where AI isn't available, reliable, or failed. The researchers also examined how different job roles and experience levels impact the effect of GenAI on critical thinking. For instance, professionals in highly analytical or creative roles reported a greater awareness of AI's limitation, making them more likely to scrutinize AI-generated content. Conversely, those in administrative or data processing roles often relied more heavily on AI, citing efficiency as the primary reason. This distinction is crucial because it suggests that impact of generative AI is not uniform across industries. Fields requiring deep expertise such as law, medicine, and research may be at a lower risk of GenAI-induced over-reliance, since professionals in these areas already practice rigorous scrutiny of information. However, in roles where quick decision-making is prioritized over in-depth analysis, the risk of cognitive offloading is much higher. One of the study's most thought-provoking insights is how AI alters the learning process itself. Traditionally, professionals refine their skills through repeated exposure to complex problems, making mistakes, and learning from the feedbacks. With AI handling much of the initial cognitive heavy lifting, there is a question of whether newer professionals will develop the same depth of expertise as those trained without AI assistance. This phenomena could have long-term consequences for workforce development and expertise retention across various fields. The studies also explored the psychological effects of AI on workplace decision-making. Some participants reported experiencing decision fatigue when reviewing AI-generated content, particularly when faced with conflicting or ambiguous outputs. This suggests that while AI can assist with information processing, it also introduces new cognitive demands, requiring users to filter, validate, and contextualize machine-generated insights. Now, another fascinating aspect of the study is the interplay between AI use and organizational culture. Companies that promote a culture of critical thinking and human oversight tend to see less over-reliance on AI. On the other hand, workplaces that emphasize speed and efficiency above all else may inadvertently encourage employees to accept AI-generated content without question. The researchers suggest that organizations can mitigate this risk by implementing training programs focused on responsible AI use. So, how can AI tools help rather than hinder critical thinking? The key lies in design. GenAI should not just generate responses, it should encourage users to engage with and refine them. Here are a few ways that GenAI tools could be improved. Providing explanations of AI reasoning to help users understand how conclusions were reached. Suggesting areas for refinement so users actively critique and improve AI-generated content. Guiding users in argument analysis and fact-checking to prevent over-reliance on AI. By embedding these features, AI can transition from being just a tool to being a mentor, helping knowledge workers develop the critical thinking skills necessary for long-term success. One concern we uncovered in the research is the potential for overconfidence in AI-generated response. When workers trust AI too much, they may reduce their critical thinking efforts, leading to overlooked errors and biases. This raises an important question. As GenAI continues to evolve, will knowledge workers maintain their ability to think independently, or will they become passive consumers of AI generated content? To ensure this critical thinking remains a core professional skill, organizations need to invest in training that emphasizes cross referencing AI outputs with reliable sources, assessing AI generated content for relevance and applicability, maintaining foundational problem solving skills to prevent AI over reliance. The core findings. Many participants reported that AI reduces their cognitive effort essentially. They don't have to think as hard when AI is involved. But that's not necessarily a good thing. When cognitive effort decreases, there is a risk of passive acceptance of AI generated content rather than a critical evaluation of its accuracy and reliability. That's it for today's episode of Unwiring Tech. How has GenAI changed the way you think critically at work? Drop us a comment or message, we would love to hear from you. Until next time, stay curious, stay critical, and keep thinking ahead. Thank you.